What's going on, my guys? Lost and Found Dating Channel, and we are back this week with another dating topic. As usual, coming at you guys with some more heat, dropping some more gems, some more nuggets. Before we get into this video, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. That way you'll be the first to know when we come out with new content each and every week. In addition to on YouTube, you can also find us on Twitter. We're also on Instagram. You can find clips of the channel. You can find pictures, some behind the scenes footage as well. So thanks for tuning in. Hope you've been enjoying the content thus far. And without further ado, let's get into this week's video. All right, fellas. So for this video, we have another tasty topic that we're gonna discuss. And we're gonna be talking about the importance of setting boundaries with yourself, along with the importance of clearly setting and clearly defining the goalpost when it comes to your dating life. So I'm gonna touch on what I mean by those different concepts. So allow us to dive in. Now, as I'm sure you all know, setting boundaries, especially with yourself, it's one of the most important things that you can do in life. It's one of the most important things that you can do in dating. And we are all human. It's something that we all struggle with. Men, women, all of us struggle occasionally with setting boundaries with ourselves. And one of the situations in which guys struggle with setting boundaries with themselves is when it comes to a woman whom he really likes, whom he really has a lot of interest in. Sometimes it can be difficult, it can be challenging to set boundaries with ourselves when we're in that situation. So that's what we're going to talk about in this video. One of the things I find is that a lot of guys out there are struggling with clearly defining and clearly setting that goalpost, right? So as we go through this video, I'm going to dive into detail and talk about what I mean by that. But what a lot of guys are doing is they meet a woman whom they're really interested in and whom they like, and they set their goalpost, or they set their expectations for what works for them and what kind of behavior they will allow and what kind of behavior they will tolerate based on that woman, instead of clearly setting those boundaries, clearly setting that goalpost prior to meeting her, and then sort of building their dating life based on that goalpost and based on those expectations, right? So to give you an example of what that might look like, let's explore. One of the things that I'm seeing is a lot of guys out there aren't clearly defining and establishing their goalpost. And what happens is they start to build that goalpost and define it and set their expectations based on the woman whom they like, right? Instead of setting their expectations and instead of setting what they're going to tolerate and what they will allow and what level of sort of effort they'll allow from the woman or what level of effort they'll tolerate from the woman, sometimes they'll meet the woman first and they'll become, you know, very interested in her and they'll like her, and then the guy will try to set up, you know, those expectations and define that goalpost based on what that woman is doing, right? And often that can really backfire when it comes to a guy's dating life. And here's what I mean by that. Let me give you an example outside of the context of dating. So let's say I work at a cell phone store, right? Let's say I work at a cell phone store. I'm standing out in front of the store, and you come walking in front of me, and I look at you, I size you up, and I say, you know what? That guy looks like he's in business for a new phone. That guy looks like he would make a great customer for my cell phone, right? So I walk up to you and let's say I want to sell you this phone, right? So I go up to you and I say, hey man, you look like you could use a new phone. Let me tell you what, I'm gonna sell you this phone here for $100. And then you look at me and you go, you look at the phone, you inspect it, and you go, nope, no deal, man. That doesn't work for me. Then I look at you and I respond and you go, you know what? How about this? How about I'll sell you the phone for $90. Give you a $10 discount. I'm gonna sell you the phone for $90. You look at me, you squint a little bit, scratch your beard a little bit, and go, nah, it's not gonna work for me, man. $90 is not gonna work for me. Then I say, you know what? How about this? How about $80 and we'll you know what I'll do for you? I'll split it up into 2 monthly payments, $80, $40 this month, $40 the next month, and then the phone is yours. And you look at me, you look at the phone, you look at me, you look at the phone, you go, no man, still no deal. And I go, all right, how about this? How about $80, we'll split it into 2 monthly payments, and I'll throw in a pair of headphones. I'll throw in a free pair of headphones on top of the discount, and we'll split it up into 2 monthly payments. What do you say, sir? Do we have a deal? And then you look at me, fold your arms, you think, and you go, nope, no deal. No dice, doesn't work for me, right? As a salesman, at what point do I go, you know what? Maybe this guy doesn't need a phone. Maybe he's not really interested in the phone that I'm selling, right? That could be a possibility. I don't want the phone because you dropped it. So if we're observing my behavior as a salesman, what have I continued to try to do, right? I've continued to try to lower the bar, right? I'm sliding and shifting that goalpost closer to you and closer to you and closer to you. You're still turning me down, you're still saying no, but I continue to slide that goalpost even closer to you, lower the bar a little bit more, just so that hopefully, eventually, maybe you'll say yes, right? And any successful negotiator, anyone who succeeds in business or in life, anything that comes with negotiating and bargaining when it comes to goods or services or anything, you know, we're always negotiating, we're always bargaining in life. One of the most important assets that you have as a negotiator is a stopping point, right? It's a point at which you're willing to say, no, you know, that's the most I'm gonna invest. No, that's the most discount I can give you, right? It's a point at which you say, this is the furthest that I will go in order to try to achieve some agreement, right? Achieve some mutually satisfying agreement. This is the furthest that I will go. Otherwise, I'm removing the deal off the table and I have to walk away, right? What's another word for a stopping point, right? What's another word for having a point at which we're not going any further? A boundary, right? What is it called when we say this is the furthest that I'm gonna go in order to try to make something work? That's called a boundary, right? You have to be willing to set boundaries with yourself first if you're going to have a successful, have a happy dating life. And one of the things I learned in life is if you can set a boundary with yourself first, you can set boundaries with other people, right? It's all about setting boundaries, and especially in dating, deciding how far you're going to invest, right? How much you're going to kind of give and offer before you expect the other person to reciprocate. And when it comes to boundaries, I kind of envision it almost like a spectrum, right? You have two extreme opposites and kind of an ideal balance in the middle, right? You can be excessively flexible with your boundaries. You can be a little too flexible with your boundaries, or maybe you have no boundaries. Maybe you don't set boundaries, right? That's one extreme side of the spectrum. And then the other is, one could make the argument that you could be a little too rigid with your boundaries, right? Maybe have no flexibility, right? Being too stiff with your boundaries, right? So it all happens kind of along this spectrum here, right? But what I see some guys do is they're on that extreme end where they don't set any boundaries, right? They don't set any level of expectation as far as, expecting the woman to reciprocate once they've started to pursue her and once the guy has started to invest time and energy and effort into her. What guys will do is lower their criteria to meet the woman's level of effort rather than kind of setting the goalpost, right? Defining that goalpost, setting it where they would like it to be, and kind of navigating their dating life, looking for a woman or women who meet that criteria, right? Kind of setting the standards and setting that framework, and then looking to meet and build chemistry and explore, the possibility of dating women who meet those expectations, right? Women who meet those standards, rather than constantly, like the example that I gave you of the cell phone salesman, just continuing to lower the bar, right? Move that goalpost even closer to her, to the point where the woman really doesn't have to do anything for you to feel like, she's invested as you are. So I gave you an example, a practical example of what moving the goalpost would look like outside of the context of dating, right? Now let me give you a practical example of what that may look like in your dating life, right? So let's say you meet a woman online, or you meet a woman in person, you exchange numbers, and let's say you send her a text one day and say, hey, would you like to grab coffee this weekend? Would you be up for grabbing some coffee together this weekend? So you send her a text and you say, hey, what's your schedule like next week? Would you like to go out for coffee? So you send her that text. Now let's say after you send the text, 3 days go by and she hasn't responded to that text that you sent. So let's say after 3 days goes by and she hasn't responded, you text her, hey, sent you a text earlier this week, would you be up for grabbing some coffee? Then let's say a couple hours later, she responds back to you, sorry, I'm busy this week isn't gonna work for me. And she sends you that text. She doesn't suggest, a following week or the week after that. She doesn't make a counter date offer. She just sends a text saying that she's unavailable and that week doesn't work for her. So you respond back to her, hey, no problem. Maybe we'll set something up next week. And let's say she doesn't respond to that text. So next week comes along. Now you text her, hey, wanted to know if you'd be up for grabbing some dinner this week. Let me know what your schedule's like. 2-3 days goes by, no response. Hey, just checking in. You up for grabbing some dinner? A couple hours later, she responds back to you, no, sorry, can't grab dinner this week. I'm busy. And once again, she doesn't offer a counter date, doesn't say, hey, maybe we can do it the following week. She doesn't offer any suggestions as far as looking to schedule a time aside from that week. But all she says is that she's busy, right? So you say, cool, no big deal. I hope you have a great day. Maybe we'll set something up next week, right? So now next week comes along, right? And you say, hey, how's it going? Hope you're having a great week. Hey, would you like to go to a professional basketball game this weekend, right? Then in an hour, she texts you, sure, would love to. When?
That triggers me.
We'd have got my man triggered right now.
That triggers me.
Right now, some of the fellas, that sounds a little off to you, right? It irritates you a little bit, right? And you're like, man, it took a month, finally got her to accept my date offer, but it wasn't until I offered going to an NBA game that she responded and said yes. But wait, there's more. Now, some of you may already anticipate and know where I'm going with this, right? So the two of you go to the game, have a great time, you get popcorn, you get water ices, you watching the game, the home team wins, everyone's cheering, celebrating, oh man, I had such a great date with her, right? Then you drive her home, you drop her off. She says, thanks for taking me to the game. I really enjoyed myself, right? You're thinking all is well. You go home, you're feeling good. You're feeling like you're getting some momentum. Fine. Finally, I'm getting some momentum there. Getting some momentum, right? Then you text her the following week. Hey, what's going on? Want to see if you'd be up for getting together this week. And she ghosts you. You never hear from her again. She doesn't respond to that text. She never responds to that text. And now look at the position that you're in, right? Now you're feeling frustrated, you're upset, you're feeling like you've been used for some basketball tickets, and you're feeling bad about the situation, right? You're not in a good spot. You're not feeling good about how things transpired at that point. So now you're feeling used, you're feeling taken advantage of, and you put the blame on her and you say, you know what, that was wrong of her to just use me for, a basketball game. That was messed up, right? But here's the thing, my brother. The writing was on the wall. You just didn't see it, or you chose to ignore it, right? How so? The rejection wasn't after she ghosted you after you took her to the game. That's not where the rejection happened, right? That's not where your focus should be, right? The real rejection was weeks prior to that when you invited her out for coffee and she didn't, have any interest in making time in her schedule. When you invited her out for dinner and she didn't have any interest in getting together and making plans as far as dinner, right? That's where the storyline is. That's where the true signs were. Not after you went on the game and she ghosted you and didn't respond to you after that, right? The real crux, right? The real center of what happened and the real center of your focus and what you should be tending to and what you should be learning from happened weeks prior to that game. Does that make sense? And if you and I were sitting next to each other and we were mapping things out and we were drawing out that timeline of events, you would be able to see each and every step of the way, right? The sign of a lack of interest, showed itself. There were signs of lack of interest here when you offered a coffee date or when you offered a dinner date, right? The not responding to you after the game was just kind of the cherry on top, right? The true signs of lack of interest happened way before that. But what you were doing, just like that cell phone salesman, what you did is you continued to lower the bar. You continued to move that goalpost. Essentially, what you continued to do is you continued to discount, to give a discount on the prospect of going on a date with you, right? First, your first offer was coffee, right? Which is a pretty inexpensive date. The next was dinner, right? You kind of set the bar higher and discounted what it would take for her to kind of be interested and be excited enough to get together on a date with you, right? So that was the next discount. Then you offered, an NBA game, which we'll assume, just for the purpose of this video, the seats cost more than what a dinner may cost, right? But you, just like the cell phone guy, you continued to lower the bar, and discount yourself rather than setting your goalposts, setting your expectations where you want them to be, and then if she's not willing to meet them, then choosing to move on, right? And let me ask you this. Who would you rather be? Would you rather be A, the guy who's frustrated, who's upset, who's feeling resentful that he took this woman on a date to an NBA game and then she ghosted him the following week? Or would you rather be guy B, who offered to take her out for coffee and didn't get a response to that and just decided to move forward and take his attention and his interest elsewhere, right? Who would you rather be? I'm going to assume you would rather be guy B. You would rather be, maybe it stings a little bit that you offered to get coffee with her and she didn't respond to that. Sure, that's a small, a minor, little sting, little rejection. Whereas guy A, right, it's a potentially more lucrative investment that you made into this person who showed that they weren't that interested in you afterwards, right? And don't get caught up in the details. It could be coffee, it could be pastries, it could be drinks, it could be whatever. The point that I'm making is a smaller, a more economic kind of investment versus tickets to a basketball game, right? So don't get caught up in the details. The point that I'm making here is part of being a good negotiator, part of achieving that thriving, that successful dating life for yourself is being willing to walk away, being willing to kind of take that, no at the initial stage, instead of just continuing to lower the bar, continuing to move that goalpost, going with the analogy that we're using here in this video, in order to try to incentivize the woman to finally say yes to your date offer. So always remember, guys, part of negotiating is being willing to walk away if you don't feel like the other side is giving you a fair deal, right? That's not even negotiating 101. That's negotiating 0, right? That's before 101, that's step 0, right? Is being willing to walk away if you don't feel like you're getting a fair deal out of this situation. So always remember that that's a super important part of dating, guys, is being willing to set that boundary with yourself, right? Being willing to draw that line in the sand. And where I draw my line may be different from where you draw your line, right? the most important thing is that you draw a line, right? That you have some sort of boundary with yourself to kind of keep yourself in check and to kind of self-regulate and be self-disciplined about how much you're going to invest before you expect the other person to begin to reciprocate when it comes to dating. So thanks for watching this video, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got some valuable nuggets from my silly kind of analogies and examples that I gave there. But hopefully you can maybe look at those different situations and think in your own life, were there instances where, I kind of maybe should have walked away earlier, or I should have, metaphorically speaking, kind of taken my ball and gone home, prior to continuing to pursue and invest time into this woman whom I was interested in. Think about times in your own dating life that maybe resemble the example that I gave and how you could have handled that situation differently. Or maybe you're currently in a situation like that where you know that it's a good idea to cut ties at this point and to stop investing in this person. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Double salute, like we always do. Wipe me down. Lost and Found Dating channel. Make sure you subscribe. That way you'll be the very first to know when we come out with new content each and every single week. Thanks for watching, guys. Catch you next time. Peace.